In this video, I'll be covering two sections. One, the intro and the basic knowledge on colonization in Nigeria. And two, I'll be talking about the purpose of the novel, which is divided into what influenced the author to write this book, what impact did the novel give to the world, and how did the author portray his meaningful points. So, Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe talks about the colonization that happened in the late 1800s, especially from the Igbo community in Nigeria. Nigeria pre-colonial was not called Nigeria, but it was called the Benin Empire, and in 1884, Britain targeted Nigeria to obtain their sources such as palm oil, palm kernel, export trade in tin, cotton, cocoa, groundnuts, and these were significant in boosting their economy and supporting the Western industrial development. As for the impact of the novel itself, we must know what influenced Achebe to write this novel. While decolonization was a hot topic during that time period of 1950s to 1975, where African countries started to decolonize their countries, the book was published on 1958, and in fact, that was the year when Nigeria announced their decolonization and announced that they're going to be an independent country in 1960. It is clear that the announcement of Nigeria sparked the motivation for the author, in which he is a Nigerian person, and he goes back to where it all started to portray how this all happened and the truth of colonization. As Chinua Achebe was born following the colonization of Nigeria, he was a part of a Christian family and understood both the European and African culture and perspective. Achebe's overflowing knowledge about Nigerian colonization and the country itself influenced him to spread the truth and educate the importance of his culture and true identity of a Nigerian. Before colonization in Nigeria, they had their culture, tradition, religion, and their own language. They had their own ways of representing themselves. However, their freedom of pursuing their traditional behaviors were taken away due to the Europeans' manipulative actions with their military. And Chinua Achebe thought British people were thinking that they saved them, and the racist books such as Heart of Darkness, talking down on Africans as they are addressed as illiterate creatures who needed a savior that would provide them with the correct religions and the correct way to behave. Achebe was frustrated that a novel for educational purposes like this one was spreading false accusations on the African colonization and Africans in general. Therefore, he shares his perspective and conveys the truth to the world. As for the impact that this novel provided for the world, European perception on African identities and African colonization have changed through this novel. And for the Africans, the novel educated the new generation on their pre-colonial African culture and allowed them to understand what it was like before their generation. The world could finally realize through this book how African colonization affected them in a more negative way rather than positively, in that they were forced to not act according to their dedicated passion and love towards their tradition and abandon their cultural behaviors, but to follow the European preferences and beliefs. The Europeans colonizing Africa seemed to be a heroic thing for the Europeans to do and thought of it as saving the Africans' lives. However, the book helped people realize that this was a misconception. Achebe and his novel helped push forward in African literature as well. He wanted to use English, but within African influence. He reveals the reasons why he wrote the book in this specific way of replacing phrases such as, "I have a hunch," to "My spirits tell me," which portrays him using English, but also incorporating African identity and literature. Because of the monumental impact the novel had brought to society, a conference called the 1962 Conference in Uganda was formulated to define emerging African literature and spread it to the world. However, although the novel provided the world with mostly positive impacts, the novel had its flaws. As the book was written only about the Igbo people, the tribes of Yoruba and Hausa were upset about the book being so famous, only talked about the Igbo community while completely ignoring the rest. They thought they were not represented as much and positively affected as much as the Igbo people, which added to the conflict of ethnic tensions. An example of an ethnic conflict was the Biafra War, which started when the Igbo wanted to secede. And this shows the consequences that unfortunately some people believe that the book fed into. Achebe portrays his meaningful ideas by using characters' behaviors, biblical allusions, religious and cultural changes to show the negative impacts on colonization. In chapter 17, Okonkwo's son leaves him and joins the Christian missionaries to convert into a certified Christian. Okonkwo disapproves his son's new belief and conversion. However, his son decides to leave anyways. Achebe uses the relationship of Okonkwo and his son to exemplify the family changes, educational changes, social changes that come as a result of the missionaries gaining power, suggesting colonization, taking away the Igbo's pride and traditional behaviors. As for allusions, Achebe alludes to the locust plague from the Bible. That suggests the idea of Christianity, which is a representation of Europeans. In the Bible, locusts destroy Egypt like how the Europeans will destroy the Igbo community. Therefore, this is a foreshadow of a destruction in society. And the dismantling of the Igbo tribe is shown at the end of the novel when Okonkwo commits suicide. The narrator says, "The white man whose power they knew too well," suggesting the manipulative actions towards the Africans during colonization. And Okonkwo, who hates being seen as a weak person and is a strong religious believer, commits suicide knowing that it might make him look weak and also that it goes against his religion because he couldn't deal with the new changes of Christianization. Even the title itself, Things Fall Apart, foreshadows the dismantle of something in which, in this novel, it was the Igbo culture and identity falling apart. Nevertheless, although there were negative aspects, but also there were positive impacts in Nigeria in that the industrial and agricultural boom happened in Nigeria, and following colonization, there were a lot of medical problems that were solved. And of course, the Western education and the language of English and Christianity was introduced and spread to Nigeria. Although religion is a free choice, Western education and English is most likely more beneficial to succeed in the world because English is the most powerful language. Okay, yeah, this is my project. Thank you for listening and thank you for watching.